Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristin, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self-compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So, whether you're stuck in self-doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So, grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Embrace Your Value. I'm Kristin, your friendly neighborhood therapist, here to remind you that every feeling, even the ones that feel like a tidal wave, deserve a seat at the table.
And I'm Jen, your accountability ally, here to help you take bold, aligned action, even when anxiety makes it feel impossible. Today, we're diving into something so many of us struggle with, and that's managing anxiety without losing who we are in the process.
Yeah, Jen, so why anxiety feels like it takes over your identity? I think a lot of us have been there. So let's start with this. Anxiety is more than just a racing heart or spiraling thoughts. For a lot of us, it can become a full-on identity hijack. It can whisper things like, you're too much, you're not doing enough, or you're falling behind. And when those thoughts become loud, we forget who we are beyond them.
Oh, Kristin, that is so true. And I just want to point something out here because I know for me, even like a year and a half ago, I was still dealing with some of these things. And I didn't actually realize it was anxiety. So the one that really hits home that you just said is you're too much. I've just always had this belief in my mind that I'm too much, that people think I'm too much. I don't know how many of you out there listening, and Kristin, I don't even know if you know this, but a few years ago, Nebraska changed its slogan from Nebraska the Good Life to Nebraska It's Not for Everyone. And when they did that, I started adopting it. I was like, I'm not for everyone because I live in Nebraska. And I made a joke out of it. But in retrospect, while yes, it was a limiting belief, it was definitely anxiety that caused that thought to be so prominent all the time. And I just didn't even think about it. So if you ever feel like you're just an anxious person or you're just dealing with all of these things, it just doesn't even matter where they come from. But let's just not let them define who we are. Because you're not your anxiety. You're a person who sometimes feels anxious. And that difference, that's where your real power lives. So don't let it define who you are. So let's talk about some practical tools to manage anxiety while staying anchored in you and who you are. And so something that I say when anxiety shows up is that it's usually trying to protect us. But protection doesn't mean control. One tool I teach is called grounding anchor. And this could be a phrase like, I am safe, a photo of someone you love, or a scent that brings you back to calm. I always remind people when they're working, especially even when they're working on goals and they start to get anxious, to bring that anchor with them. and have it all the time, kind of carry it around like it's their little blankie, because that anchor will bring them back. Having a physical or an emotional anchor can bring you back to yourself in moments where anxiety wants to pull you away.
Yeah, I have definitely used that technique with clients, and I think it's amazing. And I've even said, find it like a physical anchor too. Worry stone, that's something that's been around forever. Keep it in your pocket, touch it like just as a touchstone to be connected, right? So, from a therapeutic standpoint, one of my go-to techniques is like a name it to tame it. When you can name the emotion, like, this is anxiety, this is not truth, you start to take your power back. I also recommend the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, as we have talked about before. I'm sure I've definitely done that with clients. I even made a TikTok about it. So we do that for sensory grounding. So that looks like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 that you can taste or are grateful for. This is great because it works anywhere. You can do it when you're driving. You can do it when you're trying to go to sleep. You can do it when you're in a meeting and you're very stressed. You can do it when you're starting to overthink in any aspect of your life. It's always something that you can do immediately.
I love that exercise a lot. And here's another thing that we talk about a lot, but don't underestimate the power of breath. One of my favorites is just the simple box breathing, where you inhale for 4 counts, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and then you hold it for 4. Just a couple of rounds can help you come back to your body when your mind wants to run off.
Yeah, box breathing is great. It's a great technique. It's really easy to remember. I like polyvagal breathing, which is like in for 3, hold for 3, out for 6. So that actually works on your nervous system. And that's really important when we're starting to feel anxious. That's because our nervous system is really like coming online, starting to feel like it's on fire. The self-loss trap with anxiety, how to recognize when it is making your choices for you. So, if we use a car analogy, when anxiety is driving the car, we tend to make fear-based decisions. We say yes when maybe we mean no. We cancel plans we're looking forward to. We shrink. We apologize. We overthink. This is where boundaries come in, not just with others, but with our own thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I go over this a lot with clients, with just telling those thoughts that they don't run the show, they don't control everything. And a lot of times I just like to say, we're not going to think about that right now. We will focus on something else. And so I tell clients to just set those internal boundaries. It's almost, we talk a lot about, in my work, we talk a lot about personal boundaries and having them for themselves. But this is boundaries for your brain, for your mind, and those negative thoughts and when they come into play. And so you could say something like, I hear you, anxious thought, but you don't get to make my decisions today. Or you can say, we're not going to think about this right now. I'm going to put you aside. You can even physically see yourself and take your hands and just pretend you're pushing it to the side. That is a great way to get out of your headspace and change your thoughts, because you have to do an action. So you have to think about what you're doing, and then you're like, what was I doing anyway? And you forget and you come back to it. That's a really great place to start.
Yeah, I actually did that with a client today. It was her concern was sweeping things under the rug. She says, I don't always know whether I'm not worrying about something or I'm just sweeping it under the rug. And so I said, exactly what you did is just take it and put it over here. Because if you put it over here, it's still there. You're not putting it under something, you're not putting it in something, we're just setting it to the side and naming it. I see you, anxious thought. I see you, anxiety. That externalizes it, right? That gets it out of us and out into the world. Much easier to grab it and just put it over here. That's when you start coming back to you. The you that values peace over the you that knows growth can be messy. The you that's still whole, a whole person, even on anxious days.
Yeah, I love that story of your client because that's so true. And naming it and giving it its own, it's like taking your power back from it. You're not releasing all of that. You're taking it back and you're going, you know what? I can set you over here and I can deal with you another time. But right now I'm going to focus on this. And I absolutely love that so much. Do you have any other client stories to share around that or anything else you want to share around that?
I would say I have some of my own anxiety stories, right? I am by nature an anxious person, and I have just done a lot of work to manage it. It can get out of my control from time to time, and I start overthinking. But I've definitely been in the spot where a lot of my clients have been, where there's been panic attacks and racing thoughts and inability to control things and or feel like I'm controlling things that aren't really mine to control. So I just think that what I know, being who I am now, that there is another side, right? Anxiety is not forever. I'm still an anxious person. I just manage it differently. I would say that's my story in that, is that we can all heal from this. We can all move on. We can all have a different kind of life.
Absolutely. We never have to live in the negative or the anxious or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to label it. We don't have to live there. We always have a choice to pull out. That's a beautiful story, Kristin. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, if anxiety has been making you feel like a stranger to yourself, let this episode be a reminder that you're still in there. You've just been surviving, and now it's time to start thriving.
Yeah. And again, healing doesn't mean you'll never feel anxious. This is what we said at the top, right? Is that even the big emotions are okay. What healing means is knowing who you are, even when anxiety or any other big emotion shows up. It means choosing self-compassion over self-criticism.
Yes, I love the self-compassion piece. Absolutely. So let us know, what's one tool you're taking away from today's episode? You can either DM us in the socials or you can drop us a note down below and you can just let us know what your biggest takeaway is. If you're ready for more support in building emotional safety and boundaries, we would love to hear from you and support you.
Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next time on Embrace Your Value, where we believe healing is possible and your worth is never up for debate. Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.